What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another informative video. This one I'm going to way deeper than normal because I'm talking about strength training, the biggest thing I've learned this year. And if you want that short 10-second summary because you just clicked off of Pornhub and you need to know right now, son, I'm going to tell you that less can sometimes be more. And I know what you're thinking, how can less be more?
People kept on telling me to slow down, I said, hey, slow down. I'm like, oh. Remember, less is more. And I always said, how can that be? How can less be more? It's impossible. More is more.
But the truth is, taking a look at my training logs from 2012, 2013, 2014, when I was really building my strength, becoming stronger, I went from a 450-pound deadlift during that time to a 585-pound deadlift. My overall total increased probably by 300 pounds, something like that. If I compare the total amount of volume I was doing at that time to what I'm doing currently, and keep in mind, currently in the year 2017, I've experienced a 20-pound PR, almost 17 pounds on my deadlift. I've experienced a 15-pound PR on my bench press. A squat PR is imminent. Overall, this year in 2017 alone, if we just take all my old PRs, I've increased my total on the big three by about 50 pounds while staying at the same weight class. But if we take a look at my total training volume for this year, it's a lot lower. It's actually 20 to maybe 30% lower than what I normally handle. And that's what I mean when I said the big revelation this year for myself has been that, well, yes, people call it power building, hybrid training. You can kind of combine both of those. Training for aesthetics and also training when it comes to strength, trying to get stronger. It's to a certain point. If you really want to get strong, there's specificity. You need to focus on the big three. Your overall total volume is going to be lower, most likely, than someone trying to become as jacked as possible. And there are some individuals that can thrive when it comes to hypertrophy on lower volume. I'm not one of those people. When it comes to size, I need higher volume. Now, in my more, I would say I'm entering sort of the advanced stage of my strength training. I actually thrive when it comes to strength on lower volume. So it's a give and take. What do you want? Well, for me, guess what? I want to get more toned. I want to get stronger. That's what's been happening this year. So overall volume is lower. I'm going to give you some numbers. I'm going to give you guys some tips, regardless of what, let's say, phase of your training career you're in, your lifting career, if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced lifter. But really, these are some revelations I have had that I don't see talked about often enough when it comes to volume. And the truth when it comes to this video is that I had to kind of almost discover this by accident because I had that setback with my back with my SI joint in 2015, early 2015. I had to work around it. I had to try and figure out what's the minimum effective volume I can do for my body when it comes to the deadlifts and the squats to still make progress. And then I was kind of shocked when I compared training logs. I already knew that my volume was lower this year while I'm more advanced than previous years, but really, like I said, 20 to 30% is a huge number. So let's break down what this means in reality. If you're a beginner, if you're someone, and I'll give you some rough approximations once again on the screen, what it means to be a beginner, an intermediate, an advanced lifter. I'd say you're entering the advanced stage probably like myself if you have like a 2 times body weight bench press, if you have almost like a 3 times body weight squat, if you have like 3.5, something like that, approaching that maybe on the deadlift, you're definitely an advanced lifter. So these are all big numbers. That's the advanced stage. The intermediate stage, which is probably where a lot of you guys are coming out of that beginner phase, is where you're approaching that 3 times body weight deadlift. You're approaching like a 2.5 times body weight squat. That's intermediate, going more towards advanced end. So 2.5 times body weight squat, and then a 1.5 times body weight bench press. If you have those numbers or you're approaching those numbers, you're definitely in that intermediate phase. And when you're in those earlier stages, you thrive. And that's why I actually don't like a lot of beginner strength programs, because I personally feel the volume's too low. And so if you're in that phase, you still haven't, let's say deadlifted 500 pounds, you haven't squatted 405, you haven't bench pressed 315 pounds, you can thrive off of a lot of volume. What I used to do, and really, I was following some of those basic strength programs, and I was only doing the squat, the bench, the deadlift 1 time a week, and my strength was kind of just staying the same. It was at a plateau. In reality, you can handle probably a lot more volume than you think your body can handle. And what I mean by that, squatting 3 times per week, deadlifting at least 2 times per week, bench pressing 2 to 3 times per week, total quality repetitions. What I mean when I say this phrase, well, I mean total training repetitions that you'd be doing of that specific movement can be anywhere between 25 to 50 reps. You can even move higher than those for total reps, total training reps for the week. So that means a standard 5x5 on the bench press, so that's 25 reps on that one session, and then maybe you'll do something along the lines like a 3x8 and maybe 70% or something like that. So training repetitions, total training repetitions will fluctuate on the low end, 25 reps to 50, 60, even 70 repetitions. And that was for me what I was doing when I was going from kind of that late beginner to intermediate where I was thriving. So handling a lot more volume. And that's really when you see that intersection between size and strength, because you have to do more volume to gain that muscle mass. What will happen is you'll get bigger and you'll get stronger, but there's an absolute load that you need to consider. And what I mean when I say absolute load, well, there's a relative load. So we talk about body weight, a 2 times body weight bench, a 3 times body weight squat, but then there's absolute load. Simply put, a 500-pound squat is harder on your body. It burns more total calories because more work is being done, more work is being lifted, more load, sorry, is being lifted. A 500-pound squat is more taxing on the body than a 300-pound squat. So even if you have lifter A who is lifting 300 pounds and that's his 70%, and lifter B who's lifting 500 pounds and that's his 70%, lifter B that's handling 500 pounds at 70%, that 70% is still harder. Yes, it's 70% of his 1 rep max, but that total load, the absolute load that he's handling is heavier, and so overall he probably has to change his volume. And that's what I noticed. The biggest change when I said less is more. If you notice for yourself and you're doing all your mobility, you're sleeping, you're low stress, and you're handling this volume, you're making a lot of strength gains, and you kind of tend to notice you're getting towards that point, once again the 3 times body weight deadlift, and you're moving beyond that, and you see for yourself, oh look, I'm kind of getting achy, I'm getting sore, things are breaking down a little bit, you have a nagging, persistent injury like your elbow's flaring up. Those might be good indicators that you're handling a little too much volume. When I had to retool my deadlift and I completely changed the form, when I came back and I talked to the couch, got to talk to the couch because the dude is honestly just a wealth of lifting knowledge. He's a quiet dude, but he knows way more than you realize when you talk to him. And when I did this deadlift program, once again, comparing volume before, so when I was doing, 565, 585 pounds on the deadlift, total amount of repetitions on the deadlift, I would deadlift twice per week. I would do probably a 5x5, something like that, so that's 25 total reps. And then I would do a second time deficit deadlifts, and that'd be around 70%, 70 something percent, maybe going as high as 75%. And once again, I would do at least a 3x5 or maybe even a 4x5. So that's 40 total training reps with the deadlift. Fast forward to 2017, and when you saw me pull that 602-pound deadlift, you know what my total training reps were for the week to week? It actually varied between 10 to 24. So that's almost in half what I was handling before. With that being said, when you're more of an advanced lifter, you need to make sure your form's on point, that everything you've rested. Because you're doing less total reps, you gotta make sure every single rep is really good. But what ended up happening is that my body then wasn't breaking down. I didn't notice that my SI or my back or anything, any of those things that might happen to you, like maybe a hamstring, a quad when you're squatting, you notice those things, you just feel achy and sore. They weren't happening anymore. I actually entered with a 602-pound deadlift feeling perfectly fine. My body felt great. I felt rested. It was a lot lower volume. So when it comes to getting stronger, think about it. If I was to tell you this, hey man, I want you to do like 18 total reps when it comes to your deadlift. And then on the second day, I do a second day stiff leg deadlifts. They're like 60%. They're less. They're at about 55% of my 1 rep max. So I don't count those as training reps because once again, the training intensity, when we take a look at that, the stress on my nervous system, it's way too low. So really, I'm only lifting heavy on the deadlift 1 time per week, and I'm doing maybe 15 total reps. Do you think that's enough to elicit extra hypertrophy at this advanced phase of my training career? Probably not. And that's what I mean when I say the trade-off when it comes to the more advanced phases between hypertrophy and then strength. And so my body's feeling a hell of a lot better. Weights are moving great. I smashed that 602. The same idea I could say when it comes to the bench press. And a little side note, and maybe this would be another video, but once again, there's a much stronger correlation. I believe Greg Knuckles was the one that posted this, between the squat and the bench press and your total muscle mass. Meaning that the higher your bench press, whatever you lifted or on the squat, you're at a higher likelihood of having more muscle mass. The deadlift, on the other hand, is a little bit more CNS, is nervous system oriented. There's a lot more factors at play at that, so you can handle even less volume on the deadlift, I feel, than on the squat or on the bench press. But even if we take a look at the bench press, the YOLO bro, the ass chest himself, when we take a look at what I was doing 2013, 2014 when I was blowing up my bench press, I was doing 50 to 60 total training reps. So I'm just giving that rough 5x5, sometimes it'd be 4x6, something like that. And that'd be between 70 to 85%, and I'd do my 5x5. But then I'd also do a lot of accessory work. So I'd do some close grip bench, I'd do some floor press on another day that was quite heavy. The total training reps were between 50 to maybe 70 reps. Fast forward to 2017, and I also want to minimize the total amount of reps I do on the bench press, once again not to make my shoulders too tight for weightlifting, but if we look at my total training reps when it comes to the bench press, they're about 30 to maybe 40. So again, what is that? That's like a 20 to 30% decrease overall on my volume. The frequency's still relatively high. I train, especially when it comes to the squat. Squat's probably my weakest lift when it comes to my morphology, so I gotta work on it more. I train 6 times per week, but my overall training volume, we could talk main movements as well as the accessory movements, has gone down by about that 20 to 30%. My overall piece of advice, and trust me, I waited until I hit these numbers, until I PR'd basically across the board convincingly on every single movement, squats coming up, for me to make this video before I'm like, yeah, no, this is definitely the case, less can be more. Take a look at your training volume, take a look at what phase you're in your lifting career. I'm saying less is more for me, but again, if you're a beginner, intermediate, and you're not hitting those total reps that I recommended, maybe you need to increase it. I remember in 2012, I was doing that kind of 1 time per week strength split, and then I increased it to 2 times per week every single movement, and then on the squat and then on the bench press I increased it 3 times per week, and I noticed a lot more gains. So really it depends upon where you are. If you're in that beginner intermediate phase, I recommend definitely higher volume, and even some people when they enter more of that advanced phase, they can still handle higher volume. I'm not one of those people when it comes to my body. I feel I've been experiencing a lot of strength gains. Sometimes less can be more. This is probably the biggest thing I've learned in 2017 when it comes to getting stronger. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section below, between those 3 movements, I'm going to break down my new deadlift technique, because if you notice, it is significantly different than my previous conventional deadlift technique. But which of the big 3 do you want to see me talk about when it comes to programming, or maybe some tips? You got to choose one. Let me know in the comment section below. Again, thank you so much for watching the video. I'm looking right at you. You made it all the way to the end of the video. Like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace! Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.